Oh, hell no. How the hell did he get in here? If that thing lands in my freaking paint job, it's gonna be a problem. I will go on an absolute rampage outside, squashing every single one of those bugs that I see. Because if you're gonna get a run, that's where it's gonna happen. And the guys here who have been painting longer than I've been alive, they'll tell you in the comments right now, that's where you're gonna get a run if you're gonna get a run at all. If you're getting runs in here, you're doing something else wrong. What's going on, YouTube? So today, I got an interesting one for you guys, because I've been thinking a lot about you guys, and I realized something. I bet I figured out why 90% of you who are struggling with runs in your clear coat are getting those runs. Today, I'm gonna show you how to stop getting those runs in 2 simple ways. Now, the job we have is this Chevy Colorado diesel pickup truck. It's a real nice truck. The color is Blew Me Away Blue. I started basing out the tailgate. We did a repair here. Obviously, we're gonna have to blend that. And then also in this video, I'm gonna show you guys how I absolutely finesse this little spot repair. We're just gonna be blending our clear right there, as you can see. So I got foam everywhere I have body lines. And then I flipped the tape right where I'm gonna do my little clear blend. So you get to see that in this video as well, because I'm gonna take you guys through the whole process up into the clear. And then once we get to the clear, I'll explain to you what those 2 things that you gotta do to stop getting runs are. First things first, let's get this quarter based out. I'm using my Iwata today, my LS400, because I mean, it basically matches the paint, so I felt like I had to use this gun. And this is one of those blues that just does not cover, so I'm not gonna be able to get my infamous 1 coat coverage. I know it looks like it, but I mean, look at the actual color compared to that. That primer, or I'm sorry, that sealer is showing through heavy on this. This is probably gonna need about 4 coats of color to fully cover that sealer. Now on our little spot repair here, I'm really not too worried about my color because it's such a small area, and this is actually covered from this line down by the bumper. So I'm not even gonna turn my fan in or anything like that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shoot my color from behind this foam and from on top of this foam. So to do that, what I'm gonna do is shoot it diagonally like this. And that's it. We'll let that flash off. Then we'll come back and we'll throw our second coat on everything. All right, we're all set for our second coat. And I realized, first of all, I realized this might not be the best job to demonstrate one of the 2 things that I'm gonna show you in regards to your clear coat. But the tailgate does offer a pretty decent opportunity. So we're gonna put our second coat on that now. What I want you guys to do, keep an eye on the top of my fan. I'm gonna start at the bottom of the panel, and I'm gonna work towards the top of the panel. Now, as I get towards the top of the panel, when I get about here, what I want you to do is watch the top of my fan and watch how it's jamming into this contour on this tailgate. Now, I did go ahead and sand everything down. Not sure if you're gonna be able to see that, but I just cleaned my gun, and I guess there was some loose dirt still in there, and it kind of came out. So I gave everything a quick scuff with my soft pad and 1000 grit, and then tack ragged it. So here we go, second coat. I'm gonna make this coat a little heavier than I normally would on my second coat, because I know this color is going to give me a problem achieving coverage. All right, here we go. So now watch the top of my fan. It's really hard to see on camera, but what's happening is the top of my fan is directly landing on the same spot all throughout this tailgate. And when you're clear coating a car, if part of your fan is hitting a contour, this is very common on quarter panels, the most common because they have those 90-degree angles on them, and fenders. If you were to get a run on this tailgate, where do you think that run would be? I can guarantee 90% of the time it would be right here. Now that's the first of the 2 tips that I'm gonna give you today. When you're dealing with contours on quarter panels, fenders, tailgates, whatever it is, and you're clear coating, I want you guys to back up when you reach that trouble area and move slower. This way you reduce the amount of material that's overbuilding in that contour area and is eventually gonna run or sag on you. So on our next coat, I'll show you guys exactly what I mean on that tailgate. Now we'll go ahead and get our second coat on everything else. Again, I'm going a little heavier than I normally would on my second coat because already after 1 coat, I can tell this color does not want to cover, which is never fun. And with EnviroBase, this is common with reds and blues. For whatever reason, some of them, not all of them, are just a pain in the butt trying to achieve coverage with. Now let's go back over to our little spot repair here. I'm not sure if the camera's gonna pick this up, but if you look here compared to here, this is very textury. I don't really want to sand that down, so what I'm gonna try to do, it actually looks like, oh, you can see it from here pretty well. I mean, right here, it's a different color than here. And that's just because right here has more texture. Meaning when we prepped it or whatever the case was, it wasn't sanded down good enough. So before I run and decide to sand that and make more work for myself, I'm gonna try to drop a really light coat with really low pressure. This way my material comes out thick, and hopefully the build from my material being thick gives me an even surface. Don't know if it's gonna work, but we're gonna try it. You can see it looks to be all one color now, so we'll let that flash off, and then we'll come back for our third and potentially last coat. I doubt it, but you know, I like to think positive, guys. All right, we're 2 heavy coverage coats in, and if you look right here, you can see it's still a little light. So now we're gonna go to our 3/4 coat, which would normally be our second coat, but with this color, this is gonna be our third coat. This is something you really gotta be aware of, and if you're not familiar with this problem, you're gonna have to do a spray out card, and you're gonna have to make sure that you put the sealer, the same color sealer that you're putting on the car or truck, whatever you're painting, put it on your spray out card as well. Some spray out cards come in the colors of your sealers. I know some of mine do, but it's not always exact. You know, sometimes you mess up your pour a little or whatever it is. But anyway, now on to this. Now, when I get to the top of the panel, watch how I increase my distance, because I don't want the top of my fan jamming into it. You see how I pull the gun back and now the top of my fan goes over it? You need to utilize that fan when you're working in areas with contours, because if you're gonna get a run, that's where it's gonna happen. And the guys here who have been painting longer than I've been alive, they'll tell you in the comments right now, that's where you're gonna get a run, if you're gonna get a run at all. If you're getting runs in here, you're doing something else wrong. All right, now you can see here, our trick worked. You see how much closer we are in color now from our rough area to our smooth area. So now I'm not worried about it. I'll throw the same thing, about a 3/4 coat on there. And we're ready for our drop coat. All right, now we're on to our drop coat. For those of you who don't know what this is, it's basically an orientation coat to make sure the color lays the same as it does from the factory. So to do that, we lower our pressure, we move our gun back, and we do our passes nice and slow. Now, I'm not gonna make you guys watch me do my drop coat on everything. I'll just show you this panel, and then we'll get to our clear. And you can see, that's how you want your panel to look. Like silk, like suede, whatever you want to call it. You don't want to see any blotchiness on your drop coat. You want it to look like one solid satin color. All right, I'm gonna drop coat everything else and then mix up some clear, get back in here, and I'll show you guys the second tip. And this is a big one for how to avoid runs in your clear coat. All right, so what I want you guys to do here on your first coat of clear, aside from being aware of the contours on your panel and pulling your gun back, which you'll see me do on the tailgate, I want you guys to increase the speed of your passes by about 20 to 25%. So if it takes you 5 seconds normally to get from one end of this tailgate to the other when you're applying your clear, I want it to take you 4. Now the purpose of this is to reduce the amount of material that is going on the panel, which is not gonna look pretty after your first coat. I'll tell you straightforward, it's not gonna look pretty, but it's gonna set you up for absolute success on that second coat. And I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. And your speed is the only thing I want you to change. Do not change your distance, because that's gonna completely defeat the purpose of increasing your speed. I'll show you what I mean on this first coat. All right, today we have our PRD 815 and we are using EC 530 by PPG. Now, the reason why I emphasized make sure your speed is the only thing you're changing is because if you're moving faster, but you put your gun closer, you're completely defeating the purpose. I mean, I could jam my gun up on there and run across this thing like a track and still put a crap load of material on. Watch, I'll show you. So you see, just because you're moving faster doesn't mean you're achieving our goal here of putting less material. Because I just moved across the thing at like a speed of light and I still got a crap load of material on here. I don't want your first coat to look like that. It should look like this. You can see I'm moving faster than I normally would. And when we get to that contour, I pull my gun back a little. That's how I want your first coat to look. A lot of orange peel and even some dry spots like under there. That is a beautiful first coat that is gonna set you up for absolute glass on your second coat. All right, now let's do our little spot repair area. On our first coat here, I'm gonna try to keep my clear away from my blend area and from my foam tape. So I'll shoot it the same way I did with my color. And that's it. Okay, now we are ready for our second and final coat. You can see after our first coat, this thing's looking real rough, and under here in our contour, it's especially dry because that's where we pulled our gun back. But that's okay, because now is when we make glass. Now, what I would do personally, I would encourage you to come over to not the first, but the second panel you shot, do the old thumb trick. You can see none of our clear is gooey or coming off the plastic onto our glove, which means we're ready for a second coat. Now here, you slow your passes down. You can even move your gun a little closer if you want, and you can even turn your pressure down a little. For the sake of the video, I'm leaving everything else the same. The only thing I'm changing is the speed of my passes. You can see how much slower I'm really moving here. Normally I would move my gun a little closer, but again, for the sake of the video, and now I'm gonna pull my gun back, because at the top of my fan over that contour, And now we'll let this thing flash off. And then I'll show you guys. Oh, wait, actually, before that, let me show you guys how I'm going to finish up this spot repair. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to worry about getting clear back here. I actually want to get clear back there. So I'll throw my clear right up behind that foam. Just like that. And then what I'll do is I'll pull this back. I'll get my canned reducer, which is not in the booth right now. Okay, so here we go. Got our reducer. That's it. I'll pull it back a little more. And we'll just let that dry. I'm gonna finish clearing everything up and then I'll show you guys the finished results. And here's our finished product. Now I have to admit, applying it with this method, I didn't get as nice of a finish as I normally get, but I also didn't get any runs. This is really gonna help those who are struggling with runs. If you apply it using this exact method, you may not get the smoothest finish, but over time, you're gonna learn how heavy you can go on that first coat and then how slow you can go on that second coat. And this thing, I mean, came out beautiful. I might have to do a little polishing right there, but that's about it. That's how you do a spot repair. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, got any value out of it, or if you were entertained at all, if you could, drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps the channel out a bunch. Till the next time, guys. Peace.